皆さんこんにちは。リトルマライアンへようこそ。今日のビデオでは私がなぜどのようにして日本語を学んだのかをお話ししたいと思います。皆さんの外国語学習に役立つことができたら嬉しいです。ぜひお話を聞いてください。今日はどこに行くんですか？
今日はね、氷上郡の有名なコスモスを見に行きます。
わお。
楽しみにしてくださいね。
はい。It is the beginning of autumn, and today I will take you to Tamba City in Hyogo Prefecture, a scenic area known for its natural beauty and traditional crafts. Right now, the highlight is the stunning display of 5 million cosmos flowers stretching as far as the eye can see, creating a sea of vibrant pinks, purples, and whites. The timing is perfect as the flowers are in full bloom, making this the best time to visit. While we enjoy the beauty of nature together, I would also like to share my personal journey of learning the Japanese language, why I started, how I learned, and the lessons I have picked up along the way. Have you ever thought about learning a language to improve your career prospects? When I was at university in Singapore, I majored in English and minored in Chinese. At that time, students were encouraged to have a second major, and I was on the lookout for something that could open doors for me professionally. Around this time, the Japanese Studies Department was newly established. Singapore was rapidly developing, and many Japanese companies were investing heavily, setting up factories and offices. It seems like there would be plenty of job opportunities for those who could speak Japanese. So after some thought, I decided that learning Japanese would be a smart move for my career. My first step into the world of the Japanese language was through grammar classes, which were essential but challenging. My grammar teacher, interestingly enough, wasn't Japanese. She was from Thailand and had studied in Japan. She had this incredible ability to break down the complexities of Japanese grammar into simple, easy to understand lessons. She also made detailed notes for us, which became my go-to guide throughout my studies. Thanks to her teaching, I developed a solid foundation in grammar, which is often the most difficult aspects of learning a language. However, even though I understood the grammar well, I quickly realized that this wasn't enough to speak the language fluently. To really master Japanese, I knew I had to improve my speaking and listening skills. And the only way to do that was to immerse myself in the language. So I made up my mind to go to Japan. But this was easier said than done. I had to work several part-time jobs to save up enough money for both tuition at a language school and 1 month's worth of living expenses. After months of hard work, I finally had enough, and with a mixture of excitement and nervousness, I boarded a plane to Japan, ready to immerse myself in the language and culture. At that time, it wasn't easy to get by in Japan as a foreigner who didn't speak much Japanese. Very few people could speak English, and unlike today, there were no translation apps to help. This forced me to adapt quickly because I had no choice but to communicate in Japanese. I believe this lack of modern conveniences actually helped me learn faster. Now, with so many free translation apps available, it's easy to rely on them and not push yourself to learn the language. But back then, being in Japan gave me the perfect environment to practice what I had learned at university. It was an intense and immersive experience, and it worked. One of the best things about my time in Japan was my language school. The teachers were supportive and skilled, and my classmates, who were mainly from Korea, China, and Thailand, shared my passion for learning Japanese. We all made an effort to speak only in Japanese with one another, even outside of class. This mutual commitment created a productive environment, and we helped each other along the way. What challenges have you faced when learning a new language? Looking back on my experience, I have learned some important lessons about language learning that apply to any language. First, if you are studying by yourself, it's essential to get a good grammar book and study it thoroughly. Don't overwhelm yourself by jumping from one book to another. Find one that explains things clearly and stick to it. Repetition is key. Go over the grammar points again and again until they become second nature. In my case, the notes from my Thai teacher were my grammar Bible, and I reviewed them constantly. Second, memorize vocabulary and make sure you understand the context in which words are used. Vocabulary lists are great, but if you can also memorize sentences where these words appear, it will help you remember how to use them naturally. When I was learning, I found it helpful to read aloud or even memorize short dialogues to get a feel for the rhythm of the language. If you find it hard to stay motivated, one good strategy is to aim for a language proficiency test, such as the Japanese language proficiency test for Japanese learners or the ACAN test if you are learning English. Having a goal like that can keep you focused. Third, I improved my listening skills by watching TV every day. I would leave the TV on in the background while doing housework, and gradually I started recognizing more and more words. Even if you don't understand everything at first, don't get discouraged. Pay attention to the expressions and gestures of the actors, as this can help you guess the meaning of what's being said. Watching comedy programs in particular can be a fun and effective way to improve your listening because the humor often relies on exaggerated actions, making it easier to understand, and you get to laugh along too. Lastly, if you really want to learn how to speak a language, surround yourself with native speakers. In my case, I became fluent in Japanese largely because I was constantly surrounded by Japanese mothers. At first, I struggled to keep up with the fast-paced conversation, especially in group settings. Sometimes the words sounded unfamiliar and I could only guess what was being said. But I didn't give up. I kept joining in and asking questions to clarify. Little by little, I started understanding more, and before long, I could keep up with the conversations. Don't be afraid to make mistakes either. I have been laughed at for some of my errors, but it doesn't bother me anymore. If you are in Japan and serious about learning Japanese, I recommend avoiding the temptation to only make friends with other foreigners. You will end up speaking more in your native language than in Japanese, which defeats the purpose of immersion. These are some of the key things that helped me become fluent in Japanese, and I hope they can help you too in your language learning journey. Whether it's Japanese, English, or any other language, these principles apply. The most important thing is to keep practicing and not to give up, even when it feels difficult. If you have ever been frustrated trying to learn a new language, leave a comment below. I would love to hear your story. We ended the day with the best taiyaki in Japan and a delicious unagi lunch. Thank you very much for watching, and please subscribe to my channel.